Okay, let's dive into this because it's something we all deal with. We've all borrowed something, right? A book, a jacket, a phone charger. It's just normal. But have you ever really stopped to think about where that line is? The exact moment when I'm just borrowing this turns into I just stole this. It feels like it should be obvious, but that line is razor thin, and crossing it has some pretty huge consequences.
So picture this. You grab your friend's charger, and you totally, 100%, intend to give it back. But life happens. It's busy. A month goes by, and you find it tangled up at the bottom of your bag. So, is that theft? Are you a thief? It feels like a total gray area, doesn't it? Let's figure out exactly where the law draws that line. To really untangle this whole thing, we've got to go back to basics. You can almost think of it like a playbook. There's one set of rules for borrowing and a completely different, much more serious set of rules for stealing.
So, in one corner, you've got borrowing. This is basically a social handshake, It's built on trust and respect between people. But in the other corner, you have stealing, and that's not a social slip-up, that's a crime. It has real victims and very real legal trouble attached. The key difference here isn't just about who has the item. It all comes down to permission and, crucially, intent.
Proper borrowing is really just a simple cycle built on respect. It all starts with you asking for permission and actually getting a yes. Super important part. You both understand it's only temporary. You have a clear plan to return the item, you actually return it, and you bring it back in the same condition you got it. If you break any single part of that cycle, that's when you start sliding into trouble.
Now, what's really interesting here is just how simple a theft can be. Let's take a look at this case. Andy knows the tablet belongs to Gada. He's pretty sure she won't just lend it to him, so he just takes it. And he has absolutely no intention of ever giving it back. And that's it. Permission was never part of the equation, and the idea of returning it, it's completely off the table. That, right there, is the anatomy of a theft.
And this brings us to the absolute most critical piece of the puzzle. The one thing that separates an honest mistake from a full-blown criminal act. See, it's not just about what you did. It's about what was going on in your head when you did it.
In the legal world, they have a fancy Latin term for this, mens rea. All it means is guilty mind. It's that knowledge that what you're doing is wrong, that deliberate choice to take something away from its owner for good. Without that mens rea, taking something might just be a mix-up. With it, it's a crime. It's the secret ingredient that turns taking into stealing.
So the big question is, how can anyone prove what someone else was thinking? I mean, you can't read minds, right? Well, prosecutors look for actions that basically shout guilty mind. Did you try to sell the item you borrowed? Did you tell your buddies you were just going to keep it? Actions like these speak way louder than words, and they can turn a simple misunderstanding into hard evidence of theft. But just when you think you've got it figured out, it gets even more complicated. You see, theft isn't just one single thing. The law actually sees it as a whole spectrum of related crimes, covering everything from the most formal legal definitions to everyday slang. Okay, so at the very top, you've got the big, formal legal definition of theft. The two key phrases to remember here are dishonestly and the intention of permanently depriving. This is the huge umbrella that covers everything from shoplifting a candy bar to some complex embezzlement scheme. It's the big one. But what about something like joyriding? Someone takes a car, drives it around for a bit, and then just dumps it on the side of the road. They didn't mean to keep it forever, so is that actually theft? Well, in the UK, the law has a really specific answer for that. It's called taking without owner's consent, or TWOC. It's a smart way to recognize that a crime was committed without having to prove that permanent intent. And this just shows you how the idea of stealing is baked into every level of our language. We've got the formal legal terms, and then we've got street slang like copping something. It means the exact same thing, to steal. It's just the language you'd hear on the street, not in a courtroom. We've spent a lot of time talking about definitions and intent, but it's so important to remember that stealing isn't some theoretical concept. It has a real, profound, and often painful impact on actual people. Let's start with what it costs us in our wallets. Just from retail crime alone, shoplifting and the like, an extra £73 is tacked onto the annual shopping bill for every single family member in the UK. Yeah, that's money straight out of your pocket to cover the cost of what other people steal. But honestly, the real cost goes so much deeper than money. For the person who's been stolen from, the very first question is often this gut punch. It feels like a direct personal violation, an attack on you, and it creates this sense of vulnerability that's just really, really hard to shake. And that vulnerability, it can quickly turn into real, genuine fear. When your personal space, your home, has been broken into, it just doesn't feel safe anymore. It's not just your stuff that's been stolen, it's your feeling of security. And this, right here, is often the most heartbreaking part. Look, you can replace a laptop, but you can't replace the family photos that were on it. You can't replace jewelry that's been passed down through generations. These things have memories and sentimental value that no insurance check can ever cover. That loss is permanent.
Okay, now let's flip the coin. Just like there are consequences for the victim, a single act of theft can set off a devastating ripple effect in the life of the person who actually did the stealing.
Let's go back to Andy. Imagine he's 10 years old and he steals a fancy pen from a store. What happens? Immediately, the owner might call his parents, maybe even the police. Later on, that could lead to an official warning. But what about when he's an adult? That one small act could show up on a criminal record, making it nearly impossible to get certain jobs. And socially, a reputation for being dishonest can cost you friendships. It's crazy how one small, impulsive act can cast such a long, dark shadow.
This battle between thieves and owners is as old as time itself. But today, the battlefield is changing, and technology is playing an absolutely revolutionary role. Just look at these numbers, they're wild. When Apple introduced its activation lock, what everyone started calling the kill switch, iPhone thefts didn't just go down, they absolutely plummeted. A 50% drop in London, 40% in San Francisco, 25% in New York. This wasn't some minor change, it was a total game changer. So what happened?
Well, it's because the technology completely changed the basic math of stealing. That kill switch lets an owner remotely lock a stolen phone, making it completely and utterly useless to the thief. It can't be unlocked, it can't be sold, it becomes a worthless brick. Why would anyone risk getting caught just to steal a paperweight?
And this all leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future. As technology gets better and better at making our physical things basically unstealable, where does that criminal impulse go? I mean, if you can't make a profit from stealing a phone or a car anymore, does theft itself start to fade away? Or does it just evolve into something new, something we haven't even thought of yet?